We've made extraordinary advances in medicine, from breakthrough vaccines to AI-driven diagnostics. And yet, for women living with urinary retention where their bladder can't empty on its own, daily catheterization remains a standard of care. It's not just inconvenient, it's a chronic burden with infection risk, quality of life challenges, and long-term complications. And despite its prevalence, innovation has been limited. Today, I'm speaking with Kevin Connolly, CEO and founder of Vesiflo, about why this problem has persisted for so long and how his company is working to redefine the standard of care. Kevin, welcome to Life Sciences Decoded. I'm thrilled to have you.
Thanks, Megan. I'm happy to be here.
Before we dive into this very important topic on women's health, I would love to just get a little background on Vesiflo and your InFlow device.
Well, I am a five-time medical device entrepreneur. Vesiflo is the fifth manufacturing company that I founded and operated. It's actually spun out of another one of my companies, also in the Boston area, called Insurance Medical. Vesiflo's mission is to reinvent urinary catheterization. And we started with the population that is in most need of help, which is women with neurologic diseases that result in impaired bladder function.
Fantastic. I wanted to talk about understanding urinary retention. For listeners who may not fully understand what that is, especially in women with conditions like MS and neurological disorders, how are patients managing it today, and where is the system falling short?
Yeah, it's interesting because everybody hears about urinary incontinence,
Yeah.
leaking and such, but retention is the opposite. Imagine not being able to urinate. It's a very serious medical condition. When it happens to women on a chronic basis, it's typically the result of neurologic disease or injury. Think MS, stroke, spinal cord, spina bifida, that sort of thing. And because it's of neurologic origin, it's permanent. And right now, their only medical option is use of urinary catheters, despite the fact that everyone knows they cause life-threatening infections and they make life generally miserable.
Catheters actually are a device that was used back in ancient
Ancient
times.
Egyptians are thought to have used river reeds to
Uh,
drain the bladder.
uh,
And you can make an argument that the only significant technology advance since then is the use of new materials. We are still doing it the same way.
why do you think that is? Why has the space seen little innovation?
Yeah, it's a perfect storm. Actually, it's a lot of things. You can stick a tube or a needle in anybody, okay? As it turns out, a lot of companies have large capital investments in the way things are right now. And there's a business in place that works pretty well for them. And finally, in terms of improving anything in women's health, and I've been in women's health for 25 years, it used to be don't let the door hit you on the way out, okay? And now it's changing. And it's changing because younger women are like, we're not putting up with that. I started this company for a reason, which is InFlow has the potential to save thousands of women's lives every year by keeping them from getting infected. A lot of the UTIs that they get from catheters, some of them are going to go septic and kill them. And I didn't feel like there was anything that I was going to do likely in my career that would have that kind of impact. So basically, we have hung in there and battled, and we are finally, with the support of our medical society, the patient advocacy groups, and all the physician experts, finally about to launch in the United States.
That is really exciting, and the good thing is that you also have reimbursement too.
We do have reimbursement. We had to take it to the top of the CMS food chain, which is very hard to get to. When CMS finally did give us reimbursement, they characterized us in the Federal Register as an important life-enhancing technology. This from an agency not known for being complimentary.
Right. And plus, the reimbursement hurdle is huge. So many devices out there are using existing codes to get any kind of reimbursement. And the fact that you have your own, how many do you have?
We have 7 codes. We have
7
2
codes.
physician service codes. We have 3 physician supply codes, and we have 2 DME home care codes.
So let's dive into the technology a little bit. How does the InFlow work? And why is it different from intermittent catheterization?
So the problem with catheters is that they're simply tubes. and they passively drain urine. Whereas normal urination is an active process. So InFlow attempts to simulate normal urination. And in this case, since the bladder, which is a muscle, the detrusor, doesn't function, it can't force urine out. So we are pumping it out. So what we do is we insert an intraurethral valve and pump. And the way it works is there's a magnetic control with one button. When the patient pushes that one button, the magnet spins at 10,000 RPM. There's a small magnet inside the device, and attached to that magnet is a plastic rotor. When those magnets couple and that rotor assembly spins at 10,000 RPM, it evacuates urine at a normal flow rate. So we are, in fact, mimicking normal urination. When the user is done, she lets go of the button. The magnet automatically counterspins and engages a valve so that she doesn't leak. And it's very safe, and it's very small, it's very discreet. So with the InFlow, a woman can sit on a normal toilet and she can urinate in a normal length of time, and she's unlikely to get infected.
Talk about the surgical procedure. What's actually involved in inserting this?
It's not a surgical procedure.
Oh, well, there we
It's
go.
done by surgeons. It's done by usually urologists and urogynecologists.
Okay.
But that was because I wanted these women sent to a specialist to be worked up. You have to understand that you don't need a physician to prescribe catheters. So a lot of these women, when they're told to use catheters, are just like trained by a nurse and just sent off. And not all of them you would have intermittent catheters. You probably think this is pretty outrageous that the standard of care is this. This is the best that we can do for our grandmothers, our aunts, our mothers, our sisters, wives, and daughters. But the alternative is even grimmer, which is an indwelling catheter. Usually it's called Foley catheter in the US. And that means you're going to have a tube coming out of you at all times. You're going to be literally tied to a bag of your own urine, and you're going to face recurrent infections, any one of which could go septic and kill you. This is what their choices are right now. So when women start to use the InFlow, the first time that they're fitted for it, and it's an insertion, and it's changed monthly. There's no surgery at all to it. It can be removed at any time, even by a patient. Just pull it
Amazing.
straight out. All right. When this physician checks to make sure that they can use the device and sits them on a commode, it's very usual for the patient to just cry. You have to understand that these women have significant life-altering neurologic conditions. Their lives are challenging. And they have lost the ability to use a toilet. They have lost the ability to void themselves. You can't imagine how important that ability is unless you have lost it. When they get this back in their lives, which otherwise consist of increasing loss, it is a huge victory. And this is what kept us going.
How do we get people to adopt this and to change this? You said you have 1,200 physicians that are already lined up and ready, but how do you compete with this commodity of catheters?
Well, the catheter companies are all large multinational companies with very well-established sales channels. So, it's pretty daunting at that level. So this is all driven by the physician and the patient end. Physicians have had nothing to offer these women except catheters. All right. And so our job is really to get out there and let the world know. When we were first FDA approved, the MS Society put out a news release. The headline was, "Women with MS, forget catheters." They invited us to their clinical conference. I mean, we've had terrific support from the patient advocacy groups. So this is all going to be patient-driven. And again, a lot of these women are outside the healthcare system, to my earlier point. They never see a physician sometimes, okay? If you look at the flow chart that the MS Society provides to its members, at the very end, it's like, and if you're having a lot of problems, then see a physician. So these women are literally sitting, a lot of them, alone in the dark with Foley catheters outside the healthcare system. And it's going to be our job to bring them back into the system and get them properly cared for. We may end up partnering with some of these large companies because the clinical outcomes, the patient experience is so much better with the InFlow than with a catheter that they're just going to have to adopt.
And how large do you think is the addressable population you're targeting? I mean, it's not just women with MS. What are we looking at in terms of the size of the need out there?
Yeah, this is an interesting question because a lot of the physicians don't think that there were that many women out there with this problem because they don't see them. And of course, my rejoinder is, of course they don't see you. You can't do anything for them. How many people did you see for overactive bladder before anticholinergics were available? Right? If you have no solution, there's no reason for them to come. All right. And now there's a reason for them to come.
Okay.
So according to the medical literature, based on the neurologic conditions that are known to result in the need for chronic catheterization and broken down by gender, there are at least 500,000 American women who have permanent urinary retention. The wild card in this is because it's a literature search and there wasn't much literature on the urologic effects of diabetes, that number could be 2 or even 3 times larger than that.
Wow. Who do they start with on this patient journey?
Well, we're at the beginning of our launch in the US. The Medicare reimbursement became effective in January. So right now, we're manufacturing product that we're going to put out there. Our first job is to get out there and train a lot of physicians as prescribers for the device. When we have enough physicians trained, we'll basically put a store locator on our website so that individual patients can put their zip code in and be referred to a physician in their area that's trained in prescribing the
Well,
InFlow.
Kevin Connolly, thank you so much for joining me on Life Sciences Decoded. This has been an enlightening conversation, and I hope for all the women out there dealing with neurological issues can finally get some relief. This is an important step in women's health. So kudos to you.
Thank you, Megan, for allowing us to tell our story.